Good morning. This is something new that I'm adding. We're going to do a science warm up a couple days a week, and why not start it today? Right? You'll have to do this science warm up and watch a video on the metric system. So here we go. Science warm up. What are the steps on the scientific method? Okay, why don't you pause this and then go do and fill in as many as you can off the top of your head, right? Just based on memory. And then look and see if you have any notes written in your science folder that can help you with the rest. And then check back in and see how complete your scientific method was. Okay? Go ahead and hit pause now, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, welcome back. Uh, Steps to the scientific method. The very first thing that really happens in science, and I always said that good artists and good scientists have this quality. They're both observant. They notice things, right? So the first thing that really happens in science is there's an observation. Okay, something catches someone's eye, or they notice a smell, or a feel, or they make that observation, and it's a little bit different than just seeing, feeling, touching, tasting, or hearing something. To me, it's noticing. Okay, it's something that is there, and it sort of gets your brain thinking about it a little bit. Okay, so the first thing happens is observation, and then your mind goes to work. You start thinking about it. You make that thinking sound. And you're trying to figure out what caused that, or what is that going to cause to happen, right? And when you're doing that, you are making some inferences, right? Maybe. But you're coming up with what's an idea that helps explain something or predict something, right? And that's called the hypothesis. And remember, hypo means underneath, and thesis means idea. So a hypothesis is the idea beneath it all. Helps explain something, right? And you might be predicting, hey, this is going to happen because of this or whatever. That might be part of your hypothesis. And but you don't want to just say, okay, I'm done now. You want to test your hypothesis. And what is the test in science called again? Hopefully you guys are saying that is what's called the experiment, right? That's the test to see if your hypothesis was right. And when you do an experiment, you want a couple things to happen. You want to record everything, right? Because you might be trying to make the perfect cookie, right? And it would be terrible if you made the perfect cookie, but you forgot how much brown sugar you put in it, how much butter you put in it, right? Right? And more tragic than that, what would be even worse is if you like cured cancer and you didn't write down all the different things you put in that medicine you made, right? So always record everything. You also want your experiment to have control. Remember the idea of making the perfect cookie, and you thought you had the perfect recipe and you couldn't wait. You kept opening that oven to see how the cookies were doing because you couldn't wait to taste it because you knew they were going to be the best. But each time you open that oven, you let some heat out, and you don't know how much heat you left out. So the next time you make them, if you don't open the oven, you're probably going to overcook them. They might be burnt, right? You have to have control. You can't be doing things like opening the oven. If you're testing fertilizers, you can't have the plants that are getting the fertilizer get a different amount of sunlight or water than the other plants, or be in a spot that the temperature is different, right? You want to control the temperature, the amount of water, the amount of sunlight, everything you can. You want to have control over those. Otherwise, the thing that you think you're testing, it might be something different. It might be not the fertilizer that made them grow better. It might be the more sunlight that they're getting, or maybe the less water, because sometimes overwatering plants is bad for them, right? You want everything else to be the same. So control is really important, okay? Because if you don't do these things, that tragedy occurs and your experiment is not repeatable, right? So you say, I cured cancer or something, and then other scientist says, yeah, well, prove it. And you say, well, here's what I did. You can do exactly what I did, and the same thing should happen. You should get the same results. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know, but most of the time, when scientists do experiments, they don't prove or disprove the hypothesis. It's not a clear result one way or another. And what will happen is then you go look at what happened with the results, and you sometimes come to a conclusion, but more often than not, you say, you know what? I think I want to tweak this a little bit and change a tiny bit. I want to cook these a little bit longer, or I want to add a little bit more butter or a little less brown sugar, right? And you make a small change, okay? That change is called a refinement, right? It's kind of like you are shooting arrows at a target, right? And you're trying to hit that bullseye and you hit over here, right? So you change your aim a little bit to the left, okay, and you might hit over here next time. You change your aim, right? What you're doing, you're refining your aim. It's the same thing with science. You might get done with your experiment and change it a little bit and go back, and really when that refinement, that small change is a little bit of a new hypothesis, and you're going through the steps again, right? And oftentimes you will cycle through these steps many times. You know, the most famous example is Thomas Edison with his light bulb, right? When he was inventing the light bulb, he tried 1,000 different things for the filament, for the inside of the light bulb, for the thing that the electricity was going to flow through, and he wanted it to glow but not burn out, right? And he didn't say I had 1,000 failures. He said I learned 1,000 different things, right? This won't work, right? So that's a cool little thing to remember. So good job on the scientific method. Now what I want you to do is write all of these down and see if you can figure out what they all mean, okay? Now, some of them maybe you may have already guessed, right? 12I equals 1F. Think about that. What does that mean? Well, there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Okay? So I want you to see if you can guess all these, write them all down, spend a little time. When you get totally stuck, come back and see us. We're going to go over the answers, okay? Some of them are mathematical or scientific, and some of them are just sort of for fun. I like doing these every once in a while. You'll see them in science. All right, go ahead, give them a shot, and I will see you in a little bit. Okay, welcome back again. Let's get some answers on this. This we went over is 12 inches in 1 foot. This is 3 feet in 1 yard. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. Right, which means there's 36 inches in a yard. I didn't add that one. I could have. There are 16 ounces in 1 pound. Now we're talking about how much something weighs, its mass. There are 8 ounces in 1 cup. Now we're talking about what's called capacity, right? 8 ounces in 1 cup, right? That's about an older coffee cup or a tea cup is about 8 ounces. Some of those new cups, they carry a lot more, right? They're big, huge buckets almost. People like their coffee, right? 8 ounces in a cup. There are 4 cups in 1 quart, and there are 32 ounces in 1 quart. That makes sense, right? 8 times 4 is 32, okay? Now, there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. I think I skipped that over that. And there are 2 cups in 1 pint. So how many ounces are going to be in a pint then? 16. So 16 ounces of weight in 1 pound, 16 ounces of fluid or capacity equals 1 pint, and there's 16 ounces of weight is 1 pound. It gets confusing, huh? Talk about fluid ounces and mass. Excuse me. There are 8 pints in a gallon. All right, so let me see. 2 cups in a pint. Each cup is 8 ounces. That means each pint is 16. 8 times 16 is 128 ounces in 1 gallon. Right? That is 4 times 32 8 times 16, right? 16 times 8, right? 16 cups, all sorts of crazy things. 16 cups in a gallon. 2,000 pounds is 1 ton. Might want to capitalize the T in ton. 5,280 feet in 1 mile. There's 1,760 yards in 1 mile. So based on this and this, you probably figured out that 5,280 divided by 3 is 1,760, right? Because there's 3 feet in every yard. Back to this, 24H equals 1D. What's that all about? Hours in a day. You know that? This one becomes easy. 1 hour equals 60 minutes. 1 minute is 60 seconds. 1 hour is 3,600 seconds, right? 60 times 60. It's a basic fact. 6 times 6 plus the 2 zeros, right? 12M equals 12 miles, 12 minutes, 12 months in 1 year. That's kind of a fun one. And 10T equals 1F. What's that all about? 10 tons? What do we... 10 toes equals 1 foot. Uh-oh. I got to change that to 2, don't I? Boy, that would be kind of scary. I actually knew someone who had an extra toe. No, not really. He had a toe that sort of stuck out on the side. He had to get surgery on it. 10 toes is 2 feet. Wow. All right, all fixed. That's your fun science. But think about all these crazy numbers, right? This is fun to do with all these different things we use to measure. When you get to measure to metric system, this is a lot less fun, but it's much, much easier. All right. Watch that metric video coming up and learn why we changed all this. You don't want to have to multiply things by 8 or 16 or 5,280 or 32, right? Or 128. Don't you just want to multiply things by 10 and 100 and 1,000? Metrics coming your way.